The headlines make it sound impossible. Luxury collapses. Louis Vuitton resale values tank. Designer bags now cheaper than an iPad. It reads like satire, except it's not. Because right now, across the internet, something unthinkable is happening. Louis Vuitton bags, once guarded like heirlooms, are being dumped in digital marketplaces for prices that make longtime collectors choke on their lattes. We're talking like new Neverfulls going for $1,000, Capucines barely crossing $1,200, limited editions that once caused bidding wars, now scrolling past with make an offer tags. It's not a glitch, it's a reckoning. For decades, Louis Vuitton built its empire on scarcity, aspiration, and the promise that a monogram meant permanence. But in 2025, that illusion is cracking. Not because people stopped buying, but because they started thinking. Let's rewind to the pandemic years, the luxury gold rush. Everyone was stuck at home, comfort scrolling through treat-yourself culture. The luxury market exploded. People who'd never set foot in a boutique suddenly had DHL boxes arriving at their doors with ribbons and receipts. LV capitalized perfectly. Exclusive drops, limited restocks, and lines outside boutiques like it was 2007 all over again. Between 2020 and 2023, the brand's parent company, LVMH, posted record profits, topping $90 billion in annual revenue. But here's what nobody realized. It was built on adrenaline, not loyalty. Fast forward to 2025. The adrenaline's gone, but the products remain. Millions of them. Closets are full, resale sites are overflowing, and the market is hungover from its own success. It's like waking up after a shopping binge and realizing the thrill was the real purchase, not the bag. Owning a Louis Vuitton used to feel like a rival. Now it feels like responsibility. Ask any longtime collector. They'll tell you the same thing. Maintaining, storing, cleaning, photographing, relisting, authenticating, it's exhausting. What used to be the dream has become digital paperwork. One former LV loyalist on TikTok summed it up perfectly. I bought it for validation. Now I'm validating the buyer's payment on Vinted. That post, 2.3 million views. Welcome to the new luxury cycle. Buy, post, store, resell, regret. The biggest shift isn't just in prices, it's in purpose. Luxury used to be emotional. You bought it for milestones, a promotion, a graduation, a personal victory. Now people buy luxury for content. Think about it. The moment of unboxing gets more engagement than the months of owning. The dopamine hit happens before the first outing. After that, the bag's a prop. So when the camera stops rolling, people realize they don't actually need the thing they bought to look fulfilled. And that's the quiet killer of demand. Realization. Here's where things start to spiral. In the past 5 years, Louis Vuitton's production volume soared. The brand opened more ateliers, expanded its online reach, and partnered with global pop culture icons like Pharrell Williams to push street luxury crossover lines. It worked for a while. LV became omnipresent, but that omnipresence broke the illusion of exclusivity. In 2025, there's no mystery in getting a Louis Vuitton bag. There's inventory. Boutiques that once had 6-month waitlists now casually text regular clients. We have that model in stock today. Resale platforms are drowning in listings tagged unused, gift item, or carried once for photos. When everyone owns the same exclusive, it's not luxury anymore. It's product, and you can't charge collector prices for inventory. Social media didn't just amplify luxury, it commodified it. What used to be about heritage and craftsmanship turned into content cadence. Every TikTok haul, unboxing, and get ready with me video turned private indulgence into public performance. Luxury stopped being about the item itself. It became about the moment you posted it. By 2023, Louis Vuitton had mastered the algorithmic game. Pharrell's debut as men's creative director looked more like a music festival than a fashion show. Gold runways, diamond-studded speedies, Jay-Z performing in Paris. The internet went wild, but spectacle ages fast. And because attention is the most unstable currency in fashion. Once you've seen that same diamond bag in 100 TikToks and 20 Instagram carousels, it stops sparkling. The algorithm moves on. And when it does, resale prices start whispering what the comments won't. Hype fades, but oversupply lingers. But there's another reason the market's tanking. And this one didn't come from Wall Street. It came from TikTok's favorite side hustle, dupes. Whole communities now dedicate themselves to finding the perfect copy. $70 lookalikes that, at a glance, pass for the real thing. These aren't shady back alley knockoffs anymore. They're part of a mainstream aesthetic economy where the line between inspired and identical has basically vanished. One viral video compared a Louis Vuitton Neverfull to a $68 Amazon dupe, side by side in full HD, with slow pans and soft lighting. The comment section turned into chaos. "I'll take the $68 version and use the rest for rent." That one post? 8 million views. And just like that, it exposed the fragility of modern luxury. Because when the illusion of exclusivity can be replicated for a fraction of the price, the feeling of luxury collapses. There's a saying in fashion circles: luxury doesn't sell products, it sells feeling. Well, that feeling's in recession, inflation, lifestyle shifts, and a global dose of financial realism have made consumers more intentional about where their emotional dollars go. Why drop $3,000 on a monogram tote when the same amount covers a vacation, a month's rent, or a spa getaway that actually feels luxurious? Experiences replaced exclusives, and that emotional shift has quietly gutted the luxury resale ecosystem. Platforms like The Real, Fashion File, and Vestiaire Collective once sold the fantasy of smart luxury, a way to buy guilt-free indulgence in the name of sustainability. You weren't splurging, you were circulating, but that pitch only works when demand outpaces supply. By 2025, the shelves are overflowing. Vestiaire Collective quietly capped new Louis Vuitton listings for select models, citing market stabilization. Translation: there are too many bags and not enough buyers. Fashion File reported that average LV resale values dropped another 18% year over year, the steepest fall since 2012. Even eBay, once the Wild West of secondhand luxury, is buckling under authentication backlogs. There's so much like new stock flooding in that turnaround times have doubled. The resale experience no longer feels like treasure hunting. It feels like scrolling through a clearance aisle with better lighting. And psychologically, that's devastating for a brand built on desire. Because when your $3,000 bag sits discounted next to someone's used AirPods, it doesn't feel aspirational anymore. It feels available. Once upon a time, owning a Louis Vuitton wasn't just fashion, it was a financial strategy. Collectors bragged about their investments, comparing resale charts the way others compare crypto trends. They tracked appreciation rates, auction data, and limited edition drops like traders watching the stock market. But as 2025 unfolds, even the die-hard investors are stepping back. Sotheby's, Christie's, and Phillips, once flooded with six-figure LV auctions, are quietly reporting lighter bidding on mid-range pieces. Auction experts now warn consigners the market's oversaturated. The thrill of collecting was never just about leather and logos. It was psychological. It was about rarity, the idea that your bag wasn't just beautiful, it was scarce. But when resale graphs start looking like Wall Street in a panic, that illusion crumbles. One longtime collector told Business of Fashion this spring, "I still love my collection, but it doesn't feel special anymore. Everyone's selling." That line sums up the whole moment. Everyone's selling, and no one's buying the fantasy anymore. Here's something most Western viewers don't realize. For years, Louis Vuitton's biggest growth engine wasn't Paris or New York, it was Beijing. Chinese consumers once made up nearly a third of LV's global sales, the heartbeat of luxury demand. But in 2025, that rhythm slowed. Luxury spending in China dropped almost 12% in the first half of the year, as younger buyers turned toward domestic labels and a new philosophy called rational luxury: minimalist, quiet, understated. Meanwhile, Japan's tourism-driven LV boom deflated as the weak yen kept travelers at home. Even in Europe, political unrest and travel slowdowns cooled off the once reliable tourist splurge. In short, global demand shrank, but production didn't. Louis Vuitton kept making bags like the world was still waiting in line for them. Warehouses filled, shelves overflowed, and resellers found themselves drowning in a market that simply didn't need more. The result? A flood of unsold inventory and a brand facing an identity crisis. Here's the twist. Louis Vuitton didn't fail because it lost its edge. It failed because it perfected its own formula. It democratized desire. It made luxury accessible, maybe too accessible. The very strategy that made LV omnipresent is the same one hollowing it out. When everyone can buy the symbol stops meaning anything. That's the quiet tragedy of 2025's luxury collapse. Not that people stopped loving Louis Vuitton, but that it stopped feeling rare. And what comes next? That's where things get interesting. Because this isn't just about overproduction or resale math, it's a cultural reckoning. Louis Vuitton's downfall is exposing how modern luxury psychology actually works, and how the industry that built desire now struggles to sustain it. Something strange happens when success becomes too easy. People stop respecting it. That's exactly where Louis Vuitton stands in 2025. No longer the dream, just the default. For decades, the LV monogram wasn't just a pattern, it was a passport, a shorthand for wealth, taste, and global belonging. One glimpse of those interlocking letters could open doors before you even said a word. But now, that same logo feels like background noise, familiar, ordinary, almost invisible. Everywhere you look, the illusion is cracking. The resale listings, the influencer unboxings, even the boutiques themselves. Louis Vuitton has entered what insiders are calling its prestige recession, a point where abundance erases aspiration. Louis Vuitton's biggest problem right now isn't that it's unpopular, it's that it's overexposed. There was a time when getting your hands on an LV bag felt like winning a prize. The process was slow, deliberate, and drenched in ceremony. You'd walk into a boutique, be greeted by name, offered sparkling water on a silver tray, and invited to browse under soft lighting like you were entering a private gallery. Now, it's retail. The glass trays are gone, replaced with checkout lines and sales associates trying to juggle 3 customers at once. It's loud, bright, and transactional. And that's the death knell of desire. Because once a luxury brand starts to feel like customer service, the spell breaks. People don't want to pay thousands of dollars to feel like they're shopping at Zara with a monogram. That's the paradox of Louis Vuitton. It's scaled faster than any luxury brand in history. And in doing so, it stripped away the intimacy that made it aspirational in the first place. The cracks started years ago, but 2025 is when they became impossible to ignore. During the pandemic, Louis Vuitton went into overdrive. Factories expanded, staff doubled, and new models were rushed to market. The goal was simple: never run out of stock again. It worked until it didn't. Now, the market is bloated. Too many models, too many colorways, too many collaborations that all claim to be limited. By 2025, limited edition at Louis Vuitton feels about as believable as exclusive access on Spotify. One London sales associate told Business of Fashion, "We went from scarcity to sales targets. It's not about craftsmanship anymore, it's about clearing shelves." And that's the quiet tragedy, when a heritage house famous for its ateliers starts talking like a fast fashion retailer. Even the resale world, once Louis Vuitton's unofficial safety net, is collapsing under the weight. Platforms like Fashion File and Vestiaire Collective are drowning in like-new listings. Some bags still wrapped in plastic, others barely touched. What used to be an exciting treasure hunt for collectors now feels like scrolling through clearance bins. That's not prestige, that's overproduction. And for a brand whose entire mythology depends on desire outpacing availability, it's a nightmare. Because here's the brutal truth about luxury. Once you see something everywhere, it stops being special. There was a time when spotting a Louis Vuitton bag felt like spotting a rare car. Your head turned, your heart skipped a beat. Now, it's like seeing a Starbucks cup, omnipresent, unremarkable. Every influencer, every TikTok haul, every "what's in my bag" video. The logo that once symbolized exclusivity is now digital wallpaper. That's not scarcity, that's saturation. And saturation doesn't breed desire, it breeds fatigue. Luxury has never really been about the product. It's about the fantasy, the feeling of belonging to a rarefied world, of owning something not everyone could. But when millions of exclusive items flood the internet, that fantasy collapses. You can't sell the dream of being special when everyone's already inside the club and posting about it. When Louis Vuitton announced Pharrell Williams as its new men's creative director in 2023, the fashion world lost its mind. It was a perfect formula: celebrity status, cultural crossover, mainstream cool. His debut show on Paris's Pont Neuf Bridge was pure theater. Gold runways, gospel choirs, Jay-Z performing under the moonlight. For a moment, it worked. It felt like history. But here's the problem. Once you've gone that big, there's nowhere higher to climb. The hype machine can't run forever. After that show, sales spiked, but so did exhaustion. By 2025, even diehard fans admitted the magic was fading. The diamond-studded Speedy trended for a week, then vanished into the algorithm's abyss. Because here's the irony. Louis Vuitton is a brand built on heritage, but it's acting like a YouTuber chasing clicks. Every drop, every collab, every show feels engineered for virality. But attention isn't loyalty. It's borrowed time. You can rent attention. You can't own it. And then there's the quiet scandal no one at LVMH wants to talk about. Quality. It's a whisper in fashion circles, but now it's grown into a chorus. Customers are noticing thinner canvas, looser stitching, faster wear. The hardware that used to gleam for years now scratches after a few months. It's not disastrous yet, but it's enough to plant doubt. A viral Reddit post titled, "Why does my 1995 Speedy feel better than my 2024 one?" hit 1 million views in just 2 days. Collectors nodded in agreement. Older bags feel sturdier, richer, more deliberate. That's not nostalgia, that's evidence. Luxury depends on the belief that time improves craftsmanship, but when your older pieces outshine your current ones, something's gone wrong. Because at its core, luxury isn't about having more, it's about meaning more. And right now, Louis Vuitton feels like it's losing both. At its core, Louis Vuitton's collapse isn't financial, it's emotional. People used to feel something when they carried LV, pride, accomplishment, excitement. Now, it's anxiety about resale value, about overspending, about being judged for carrying something everyone has. Luxury was supposed to make people feel more. Now it makes them feel watched. And when emotional ROI turns negative, consumers walk away. That's why 2025 is the year of the dump. Luxury owners are offloading like never before. Search Louis Vuitton resale on any platform and you'll see it. Endless pages of listings that all say the same thing. Used once, excellent condition. In other words, bought for the photo, not for the life. This mass offloading isn't just about money. It's about emotional detachment. People aren't selling because they're broke. They're selling because they're bored. The myth cracked, and now everyone wants out before the floor drops further. The resale platforms themselves are panicking. In early 2025, Fashionphile introduced instant liquidation, a feature where sellers can get paid immediately, no waiting for buyers. It's like a pawn shop for luxury. And guess which brand dominates those liquidation listings? Louis Vuitton. At one point in March, LV accounted for nearly 38% of Fashionphile's entire handbag stock. That's more than Chanel, Gucci, and Prada combined. Think about that. The world's most famous luxury house is now the world's most common secondhand listing. That's not prestige. That's oversupply turning into overshare. But here's where the story gets fascinating, because this isn't just about handbags, it's about a cultural identity crisis. Louis Vuitton became the symbol of making it. Now, owning one feels like you're trying too hard. The same influencers who once flaunted their LV trunks are now preaching minimalism. Hashtag stealth wealth, hashtag quiet luxury, hashtag capsule wardrobe. These hashtags aren't just trends, they're rebellion. One viral tweet in January read, "The real flex in 2025, not needing a logo to prove your worth." Over 1 million likes. And buried under that post were thousands of replies from former LV loyalists saying the same thing. "I sold mine, I'm done." Inside Louis Vuitton, leadership knows the optics aren't good. Multiple reports suggest that internal memos have urged store managers to re-engage legacy clients, meaning the old-school loyalists who actually used their bags, not just posted them. The brand is quietly experimenting with private appointment-only events again, trying to rebuild the sense of exclusivity that once defined it. They're offering personalization, repair programs, and revival campaigns focused on craftsmanship instead of collabs. It's damage control disguised as refinement. But rebuilding trust takes more than embroidery and champagne. There's also a generational rift inside the customer base. Older buyers, Gen X and Boomers, still associate LV with quality and legacy. Younger buyers, Millennials and Gen Z, see it as mainstream flex. And Gen Z, in particular, has the loudest voice online. When they start mocking the brand on TikTok, posting parodies like "starter pack for mid-tier rich energy," it hurts more than any financial report ever could. Luxury runs on perception, and perception is shifting fast. Let's talk cold data for a second. In Q2 of 2025, LV's global leather goods revenue dropped 7% year over year, its first decline in nearly a decade. The brand's resale index fell 34% in the same period. Average resale price for the LV Neverfull hit $1,180, down from $1,900 in 2023. New with tags listings have doubled since last year. That means people aren't even using their bags before reselling them. It's no longer a resale market, it's a revolving door. Louis Vuitton's strength was always in storytelling, but lately its stories don't match its prices. You can't sell a $4,000 tote with the same emotional gravity as a hand-stitched heirloom when everyone knows it was made in a factory line designed for efficiency. That's not elitism, that's economics. In luxury, value is perception. When perception cracks, the whole illusion collapses. So what does Louis Vuitton do now? They're not folding, not even close. The brand's too massive, too global, too embedded in culture, but survival now depends on recalibration. The first step? Pull back. Fewer collections, fewer collabs, more narrative around heritage. The kind that feels sincere, not strategic. Sources inside the company say they're planning to reintroduce archival models from the 1930s and 1950s, a move to reconnect with authenticity. They're also reportedly considering a buyback and restore initiative, letting customers trade in old bags for credit toward refurbished heritage pieces. It's a smart move. Nostalgia sells better than hype. Here's the truth. Louis Vuitton isn't doomed. It's just in detox. For years, it fed on overexposure, and now it's purging the side effects. But once the noise clears, the core might just shine again, because craftsmanship, when done right, never goes out of style. The people dumping their bags today, they'll be the same ones regretting it when LV finally gets its groove back. Luxury moves in cycles. What's out now will be rare again later. But that future depends on whether LV can learn the one lesson it's ignored for too long. Luxury can't be mass-produced. So yes, millions of like-new Louis Vuitton bags are being dumped for pennies. But underneath the chaos, there's something poetic happening. The market isn't rejecting luxury. It's rejecting the version of luxury that forgot how to make people feel special. When everything's accessible, emotion becomes the only real currency. And that's where Louis Vuitton has the chance to rise again, not by chasing the next big collab, but by remembering what made its monogram magic in the first place. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you're part of the few still paying attention to the story behind the sparkle. So if this video gave you a new way to see luxury, hit that like button, drop your thoughts below. Maybe tell us your own luxury regret, and subscribe for more deep dives into how brands rise, fall, and reinvent themselves.